NITTI Framework for Bernadette, read by Coach Jackie with love always. You walked out on December 31st, the last day of the year, the very last one. Something in you knew it was time to close a chapter and open a new one at the same time. Something in you had done all the waiting it could do. You have described what you are feeling right now as a mix of emotions: freedom, failure, pain, hope, bitterness, relief, all of them at once, some days before breakfast. Bernadette, that is not confusion. That is a woman who has just walked away from a 30-year marriage that cost her more than anyone should ever be asked to pay, and whose nervous system is trying to make sense of what quiet feels like after a lifetime of noise. There is a lot to name here, and we are going to name all of it without rushing, without skipping anything, because you deserve to have your whole story held clearly, not just the parts that are easy to say out loud. You did not fail, you endured for 30 years. That is not the same thing, and name it what actually happened to you. 1. You married someone who was never going to choose you. You saw the red flags before you walked down the aisle. You have said so yourself, and you walked in anyway. Before we go any further, we need to understand why that happened. Not to blame you, but to stop you from carrying the weight of a decision that was shaped by things that had nothing to do with poor judgment. You grew up in a household full of chaos, a father struggling with alcoholism, parents who fought, a mother who was verbally abusive. You did not grow up with a stable model of love. You grew up with a model of love that was loud, inconsistent, painful, and something you had to earn or survive. When a relationship feels familiar, the nervous system registers it as safe, even when it is the opposite of safe. You were not naive. You were a woman who had been trained from childhood to normalize the presence of chaos in the people she loves most. The science: when we grow up in unpredictable environments, our nervous system wires itself to read unpredictability as normal, not desirable, normal. So a calm, consistent person can feel flat or boring, while someone volatile feels alive and familiar. You were not broken. You were following the only map you had ever been given. 2. 30 years of infidelity is not one betrayal, it is thousands. Infidelity started in the first year of your marriage. Then it continued for 3 decades. One woman, then many, then a permanent partner with 5 children. You were not betrayed once. You were betrayed slowly, consistently, deliberately for the entirety of your adult life in that marriage. And because it happened gradually, because there were good days in between, and children to raise, and a life to run, your nervous system adapted. You learned to keep functioning inside a wound that never closed, because it was never allowed to close. The last 4 years were different. He stopped talking to you. One word answers: silence. You described feeling like an unwanted piece of furniture in your own home. That is not metaphor. That is what psychologists call relational abandonment. Being physically present with someone who has emotionally and communicatively withdrawn. It activates the same parts of the brain as physical pain. Your body was registering what your mind was trying to manage. 3. The mix of emotions you are feeling has a name. What you are experiencing is not emotional instability. It is the completely normal aftermath of leaving a complex, long-term traumatic bond. The technical name is ambivalent grief. Grieving something that was also harming you. Mourning a version of the relationship that existed in hope more than reality, while simultaneously feeling relief at the absence of the pain. Both things are true. It was real love, even when it was not being returned, and it was also genuinely harmful. The body can grieve both at the same time. You are not confused, you are processing. 4. Your children's struggles are not evidence that you failed. Your children grew up inside the same unstable environment you were trying to survive. They watched their mother be diminished. They absorbed what was in the walls of that home long before either of you could explain it to them. Depression in adult children of difficult marriages is one of the most documented outcomes in family systems research. It is not your failure. It is the spillover of a wound that started before they were born. The most powerful thing you can do for your children's healing right now is your own healing. When the parent begins to come back to themselves, the family system responds. Your healing is not separate from theirs. It is the beginning of it. 5. Leaving Kenya is not running away. It is choosing a different air. You said you wish you could just leave this country and go far. I want you to hear that differently. That is not escapism. That is a woman who recognizes that healing sometimes requires removing yourself from the environment where the wound happened, where he still exists, where every corner has a memory in it, where the social weight of who you were as a wife still follows you into every room. Leaving Kenya, if and when you choose it, is not defeat. It is the deliberate creation of a new context for a new version of yourself. Some people can rebuild where they are. Some people need new geography. Neither is wrong. You are allowed to want distance. You are allowed to choose a different air to breathe while you become who you are becoming. New geography can be part of the medicine. 1. Investigate it. The science of what happened in your body. 30 years of intermittent betrayal, followed by occasional reconnection, does not just produce heartbreak. It produces a neurological bond that can feel stronger and more confusing than a healthy attachment, precisely because it was built on unpredictability. The brain's dopamine system fires hardest in response to inconsistent rewards. Every time he came back, was kind, seemed to choose you, that registered as a significant neurological event. Every betrayal heightened the craving for the next moment of feeling chosen. This is not love addiction in a dismissive sense. This is your nervous system doing exactly what nervous systems are designed to do. Attach more strongly to uncertain outcomes than certain ones. The slot machine does not pay every time. That is why people keep pulling the lever. The science, intermittent reinforcement produces stronger behavioral conditioning than consistent reward. In long-term relationships, the cycle of betrayal and reconciliation creates neurological patterns that resemble those seen in substance dependency. Leaving such a relationship activates genuine withdrawal symptoms. The pain of leaving is not weakness. It is neurobiology. On rejection, confidence, and the job search, you said the pain and bitterness of rejection has made you lose confidence in looking for a job. This is one of the most underestimated impacts of long-term emotional neglect. When someone who is supposed to be your primary person has spent years communicating through silence, through affairs, through one-word answers, that you are not worth choosing, that message does not stay in the marriage. It moves into everything. It moves into how you walk into a room, how you write a cover letter, whether you believe anyone would want to hire you. This is not a career problem. This is a worth problem. And it was given to you by someone who should have been building it, not quietly eroding it for 3 decades. When you hear yourself say, "What is the point?" or "Who would even want to hire me?" or "I have been out of the game too long," that is not your voice. That is his silence talking through you. Name it when you hear it. It is not the truth. on your childhood and why the pattern started there. You grew up with a father whose alcoholism made the home unpredictable, a mother who was verbally abusive. You did not grow up with safety, warmth, and consistent love modeled for you. You grew up learning that home is where the tension lives, that love is complicated, that the people who are supposed to care for you can also be the source of your greatest hurt. That template did not disappear when you became an adult. It shaped who felt familiar to attach to. It shaped your tolerance for inconsistency. It shaped your capacity to absorb pain and keep functioning because you learned that survival skill very young. Children who grow up in chaotic homes become extraordinarily resilient. They also become extraordinarily skilled at tolerating things they should not have to tolerate. Understanding where the tolerance came from is not blame, it is the beginning of no longer needing it. Tame it. What this season looks like in practice. You are not at the beginning of a healing process. You are several chapters in. You made the decision. You walked out. You are living with the full weight of that and the full complexity of that simultaneously. First, name the emotions without judging them. The mix of feelings you described: freedom, failure, hope, bitterness. That is the whole picture, not a problem. Spend 5 minutes every morning writing down which emotion is loudest, not to fix it, just to see it clearly. Named emotions lose approximately half their neurological power within 90 seconds of being named. This is documented. Give your feelings their full names. Second, separate the confidence problem from the career problem. The job search is not failing because of the job market. It is stalled because of what 30 years of being unchosen did to your sense of your own worth. Before you update your CV, do 1 week of writing down 3 things you did well each day. Small things count. This is neurological rewiring. Deliberately rebuilding the evidence base your brain uses to evaluate your own competence. Third, address your children's pain without absorbing it as your own verdict. You can hold compassion for their struggle without accepting that you are the cause. Your healing actually helps them more than your guilt does. Fourth, find a therapist who understands long-term betrayal trauma, not general counseling, someone specifically trained in betrayal trauma, which is its own distinct category. Look for someone who understands the cumulative impact of chronic marital trauma and who has worked with women navigating late life separation. You are not simply going through a divorce. You are emerging from a 30-year complex trauma system. The support needs to match what actually happened. Fifth, about leaving Kenya, plan it. Do not just wish it. If leaving is something you genuinely want, treat it as a project. Where specifically would you go? What would you need to make it possible? What is the first concrete step? Dreams that stay, wishes drain energy. Dreams that become plans generate it. You are allowed to actually build the exit you keep imagining. Sixth, let your body release what it has been holding. 30 years of walking on eggshells is stored in the body, in the shoulders, the jaw, the gut, the chest. Movement matters here. Walking, dancing, yoga, even intentional shaking, which is a documented somatic trauma release practice, all help the nervous system discharge what it has been holding. The body kept the score. The body also holds the key to releasing it. Transform it, the longer vision, what Bernadette is building toward. You said it clearly: peace and joy, financial independence, a good retirement plan, healing, helping other women heal, and one day, real love. Bernadette, none of that is too much to want. not a single item on that list. After 30 years of a marriage that did not give you what it owed you, all of those things are not just reasonable to want. They are what you are owed by the next chapter of your life. On peace and joy. Peace is not the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of enough internal safety that difficulty no longer destabilizes everything. Your nervous system learned to distrust the good moments because for 30 years, moments of joy were often followed by fresh betrayal. Part of the healing work is teaching your body that peace is not a trap, that good things are allowed to stay. On financial independence, the woman who survived and functioned inside a 30-year difficult marriage while raising children is extraordinarily capable. The world of work is not looking for perfection. It is looking for competence, reliability, and experience. You have all three in abundance. What you need is your own voice to tell you that again consistently until it drowns out his silence. On helping other women. You have already said this is something you would like to do. That is not a casual thing to say. That is a woman who has lived through something that many others are living through right now silently without a map. The knowledge you carry about how to survive, how to hold on, and ultimately how to walk out. That is not just personal, that is medicine. When you are ready, your story will find its audience. And they will recognize themselves in every word on real love. After what you have been through, the fact that you still want love, that it is still on your list, that the 30 years did not close that door, that is remarkable. That is not naive. That is resilience in one of its most hopeful forms. You are not at the end of love. You are at the end of the version of it that was never giving you what you deserved. 1. Integrate it. The new truths Bernadette gets to carry now. New truth 1, I did not fail. I endured something unfair for 30 years and then I left. Leaving is not failure. Staying for 3 decades while being betrayed and eventually silenced while continuing to function, raise children and hold a life together, that is extraordinary endurance. The marriage did not work because he chose not to make it work. That verdict belongs to his choices, not to your worth. New truth 2, my childhood shaped my tolerance, not my destiny. You grew up learning to tolerate what should not be tolerated. That was survival then. It is a pattern to understand and outgrow now. New truth 3, my children's depression is not my verdict. Your healing is the most powerful thing you can offer them right now. Not guilt, not self-punishment. Evidence that recovery is possible. Be the proof. New truth 4, the confidence I lost was taken. I can take it back. The confidence that was eroded can be rebuilt deliberately. It starts here, today. New truth 5, wanting to leave Kenya is wisdom, not weakness. New geography for a new chapter is a legitimate healing choice. You are not running, you are choosing the conditions that will allow you to become who you are becoming. New truth 6, real love is still available to me. 30 years of being unchosen does not mean you are unchoosing. It means you chose someone who was not capable of choosing you back. That says everything about his limitations and nothing about your worthiness of love. The door is still open. One last thing for Bernadette. You walked out on December 31st, the last day of the year, the last day of a chapter that asked far too much of you for far too long. And now it is a new year, a new page, a blank one that you get to write. You are going to feel it all for a while longer. The grief will come in waves. Some days the freedom will feel like flying. Some days the weight of what was lost will sit heavily. Both are allowed. You do not have to choose between them. But what I need you to hear clearly before you close this, You are not starting over. You are starting from everything you now know. That is a completely different thing. The woman who survived the first year and the 5th year and the 15th and the 30th, the woman who raised children while absorbing the kind of consistent low-grade pain that most people cannot fathom. The woman who on the last day of the year decided enough and meant it. That woman is not depleted. She is available. She has been waiting for this chapter her whole life. Go build it, Bernadette. Peace, joy, financial independence, a home of your own choosing, new geography if that is what your soul is asking for, and love, real, chosen, steady, mutual love. When the time is right and you are ready to receive it, you have already done the hardest part. You left. Keep going, Bernadette. With love, Coach Jackie, XOXO. The Clarity Advantage trademark, NITTI framework, Coach Jackie.